The other one that you had was should universities embrace or crack down on student AI usage? So Harvard University professor Alex Green thinks AI is robbing students of the ability to think.
Yeah, so this is a Harvard professor, I think, of political communications, and they describe a lot of their students coming to them and saying that their usage of AI has interfered with their ability to think when they want to think, and read when they want to read, and write when they want to write. Their their dependency on it has grown to the point where they're unable to do those kinds of things that college would normally teach you to do without
Yeah.
AI. And so they're,
Gosh.
beyond him just being upset that they are
Mm,
lying to him about doing work, he's upset that it's actually robbing them of
right.
becoming a competent human being.
Right.
And so he just kind of writes about that and how he's thinking about it and that experience. And the other professors he runs into are kind of going the other direction, where they are themselves automating their own jobs using AI, grading students' papers with AI and stuff. And how he thinks we're kind of doing this their students a disservice, by not helping them avoid usage of AI, where it is to their detriment, where it is going to interfere with their
What do you
ability to
think
think.
it's doing? I have a take on this, but I'd be interested to hear your take on it.
I believe him, so that's what I think it's doing. It is interfering.
Do you think it's actually because you hang out with a bunch of young kids, don't you?
Yeah, I'm. You can frequently find me at.
No, I mean like I mean developers. I mean you have some developers that are young that work at Stacker.News or contribute to Stacker.News. So I mean, there you do have some experience.
Uh, I do encounter young people. I don't. So, was there a question?
Yeah, the question is, is AI robbing my student of the ability to think?
Um, I think it is. I think that is what it leads to. I think it does lead to a critical dependency. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. Probably bad. I think it's too. That's the kind of the problem with general intelligence versus like a calculator level intelligence. Is I will lean on the calculator for a certain facet of life, but when I have something that's general, I might lean it on it for every facet. And at that point, I don't have much of a life without the thing. I don't have much of a me without the intelligent device. And so I do think it is different from that. And I think it can rob people of thinking, especially when people aren't challenging, they aren't willing to go sort of Quakerish sometimes and write themselves, read themselves, think themselves without the device. I think they are robbing themselves of the ability to do it, because you only do things if you practice them. And I don't think watching an AI think through its, as it goes through reasoning steps, is going to make you think better. In all cases, and think better alone in all cases. I think you need to do it yourself.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think what it'll do though, it'll probably get them to think faster and to find solutions faster, maybe. So like kind of like a calculate, like maybe it'll get them to think through reasoning better, or like how do you say, like to get to a to get conclusions faster, maybe.
They'll get to results and
Yeah,
outcomes.
yeah, yeah. And then so maybe like if you give them a project, they'll be able to get to that much faster because they're used to thinking with AI. So there's that possibility.
Yeah, but there's
That's
another way to view it, is that without the ability to think for yourself, you're going to be less able to use the AI effectively. So a person who is smart, using AI to augment them, is going to be that much smarter. But if, because you're using AI, you don't get much smarter, and now you augment yourself with AI, you're at a deficit. You're on.
some would say for us, for our millennial generation, I'm just as guilty as this. You're probably not because you're more well read, but some would say like, the millennial generation is not well read because a lot of us grew up with the internet. So a lot of us just read articles or watched videos or heard podcasts. And so we're not nearly as well read as the prior generation because they had to go to the library for information or they had to read books for information. But the millennial generation they had the internet, so they could squeeze that um, tremendously. They didn't have to spend 16, 18, 24 hours reading a book. We could spend an hour or 2 hours on a podcast, whatever, gobbling that information. So it's kind of the same thing.
Well, I just think I think it is. I don't think it's the same thing where, because I think what you're saying is when someone listens to the podcast, they get just as much as someone who read the book, and I would disagree with that premise. I think the person who read the book understands the thing way better than the person who was listening to the podcast while they were, I don't
No,
know, doing their
I'm
dishes.
no, I'm saying that's the same type of. I'm saying that I'm saying the millennial generation probably
Suffered a
it
similar
suffered the
loss.
same type of thing
Yeah.
that this current generation is going to suffer from with AI.
I would say
And I don't know if that necessarily made us worse or better because we wouldn't know what we're worse at.
I, well, it's hard to say what the results of a generation are because the generation is like nearly dead by the time the
Yeah, like
results
what
manifest.
resulted from that? Like what resulted from us having available information at our fingertips that might not be oh, I guess we did figure out what that was. The disinformation. All that disinformation that came out, us being conspiracy theorists, us believing crazy flat earth shit, or like that's what came out of that, right? So I guess in a way we kind of like psyoped ourselves.
Yeah, you could tie it into that because people didn't learn to think critically because they're
Right.
kind of not willing to spend time thinking. They get duped easier and are more vulnerable to being lied
So
to.
that's the
More
that's
gullible.
that's the effects of having available information at your fingertips and believe anything that you read. Yeah.
Another a more direct one is there was a few months ago there was a story circulating that got memed a lot where uh, they had done studies on English majors in college, and they found that most of them had really poor reading comprehension. I
Hmm.
think it was like under half of them had good, decent reading comprehension, and so that is one of the effects. Is you have very few people that can read well, and
So yeah, I think in this such situation, maybe what will happen is you'll lose probably critical thinking, maybe because that's what they're supposed to teach you in college, anyways, how to critically think.
I think
Like, what would you say the whole reason of college is?
well, that, he kind of
Critical thinking is one of them. Like that's like the
I think
and
it's like exposure to a lot of different ideas
sure,
is a big one.
critical thinking is another one.
I think not just critical thinking, but thinking more like how to think about something. They kind of work you through a lot of examples of things that have already happened. You get a lot of like historical context so that you don't make similar mistakes yourself. Um,
So maybe they won't learn these things.
yeah, they might be sort of without them, but
And then they'll grow this trust towards AI, this inherent trust towards AIs,
dependency. Yeah.
this dependency towards AI, this dependency towards machines
And
and
unlike a
robots.
calculator, it's like pretty easy. It's you can't really manipulate my calculator, but if I'm using OpenAI in the cloud, it's pretty easy for you to change the parameters on a dime because you want me to get a cheeseburger at McDonald's this afternoon.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that future looks very dystopian. Huh. Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. And
Yeah.
Simple Stacker is a professor of economics, and is dealing with this question themselves in real time. And they say they're leaning more towards they think they see AI as inevitable. They can't really police it, so they're trying to help their students use it in the right way so that it improves their thinking and properly augments them. But he says he's conflicted because he knows that there is this dulling effect it has on their ability to deal with like novel problems and situations, especially by themselves without the AI. And so he asked stackers about it, and a lot of them had interesting feedback, a lot of diverse opinions.
Yeah. I think